Hello and welcome back. I'm Jan Bedell, the Little Giant Steps Brain Coach. Thanks for coming back for another Brain Coach tip. I also want to thank you for being proactive and alert to anything that can help your child be more successful. I think if I could describe homeschooling families in just one word, proactive would be the one I use. I'm glad you're here because there are pitfalls in functional abilities for many of our children. These pitfalls are often caused by changes in our cultural practices, and they can be avoided by putting some knowledge into action. Specifically, in my opinion, neurodevelopmental type knowledge is required. That's what we are all about here at BrainCoachTips.com. The previous Brain Coach Tip episodes cover a wide range of topics about brain function. Whether you have a typically developing, gifted, or developmentally challenged child in your home, there is something here for everyone. The reason is everyone has a brain, and that brain can work better. You just need to know some simple ways to give specific stimulation as that results in better function. Please do me and a friend of yours a favor. Share the website BrainCoachTips.com with someone you know. You may be surprised to learn that you were strategic in being answered prayer for someone that you didn't even know was struggling. I'm so passionate about getting this life-changing information out because all of these years of helping families incorporate neurodevelopment through the Little Giant Steps products and programs has proven to me that we're on the right track to bring hope and help that people need. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter on the homepage at littlegiantsteps.com. That short newsletter provides more neurodevelopmental tips as well as discounts for products. Little Giant Steps also has many free articles and tremendous resources available to you at littlegiantsteps.com. On a bit of a different note, over the past 20 plus years, I've continually been on the lookout for anything that could help my clients. I have always known that the chemistry of the body can have profound positive or negative effects on your brain, and dietary changes can only go so far in making change in this chemistry, or what I often term the person's metabolic function. How all these trillions of cells in our body work together is a mystery that I think only God really knows the full extent of. But as our technology improves, more and more is coming out about the chemistry of the body that feeds the brain the fuel that it needs to function as designed. If there's interference from heavy metals that comes from a variety of sources like mercury fillings and other environmental sources, or gut issues causing malabsorption of nutrients, just to name a couple of things that could go wrong with our chemistry, then the brain function is compromised. This can cause foggy thinking, sensory issues, allergies, as well as setting up the body to have difficulty fighting off disease. If you know someone that is having issues with their immune system, like frequent colds, eczema, heavy metal toxicity, candida, autoimmune issues, or hypersensitivities like sensitive to touch and noises and smells, or if they're constantly distracted by visual stimulation, please encourage them to set up a free metabolic consultation because that might be the root of some of those issues. To start the process, send an email to office@littlegiantsteps.com. Put metabolic consult in the subject line and we'll start the process of scheduling that free consult for you. Metabolic issues can be huge in the whole scheme of things, but the neurodevelopmental approach, which I've studied and implemented for over 25 years, is also huge in its abilities to help a person function better. With the knowledge you gain from the study of the neurodevelopmental approach for life, you can hold the key to releasing the full potential of every member of your family. I say the whole family because it's never too late to help a person's brain work better. So even if you are an adult and have struggled with some of these things that I've talked about all your life, there is hope for change. Now let's dig into the cornerstone of math. First, I want to go over a little bit about the foundation of math, and then we'll set the cornerstone. You know, every building has a foundation that it's laid on, and a cornerstone that keeps it all together. The same is true with math. So let's look at the foundation first. One of the aspects of that is rote counting. This is just being able to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as high as you would want to count. That's one of the first things, especially when they're young. They're doing counting to 10, counting to 20, that kind of thing. You could look at our counting CD if you want some help with that, because that gives over and over repetition of counting just to a few numbers. It starts with 1 to 5, then 1 to 10, 1 to 15, 1 to 20, then it goes up by 10. It will also give them some experience with counting larger numbers like thousands, but just going up by 1 so that they hear those patterns. So rote counting is first, and then understanding quantity. Now, what do I mean by this? First, you count something accurately. Now, there's 3 blocks on the table, and you say 1, 2, 3. Then you move to quantities where they actually can tell what the quantity is without counting. So they hold up their hand, there's 5 fingers, they say 5. Or pictures on a page, they can just glance down and kind of visualize and see that there's 4 cookies in that picture. And then you can look at dice, how many dots are on there, and they just know the quantity just by looking at it. They don't have to count 1, 2, 3. They just know that's 3. So that's understanding quantity. Then counting from a number to a number. So just randomly starting at 5 and counting to 12, or start at 31 and counting to 42. That kind of thing is a really good foundation for being able to add and not have to count all the numbers. Another very useful skill after they learn to rote count is the ability to skip count. This will help them greatly when they get to multiplication and division. The skip count recordings that we provide are a little unique in that it doesn't just go through it one time. It goes through it over and over again with different voices and different intonations and echoing and reverberating, things like that, sound effects, so that they're really paying attention to it, because it's not just rote. The brain is paying attention to those variations. You do this twice a day for 2 minutes on a particular skip count, and typically they know it at the end of the week. We also go in a different order, so you want to check that out on the store, Little Giant Steps store, and see what order we go in, because it's real strategic too and different than other things out there. Now, we don't put it to music, the skip count or the counting, because when you sing something, it goes into your subdominant hemisphere and not your dominant hemisphere, and then you have to sing the song to get it back out instead of just using it in that dominant hemisphere. We also use that frequency, intensity, and duration that we talked about in previous podcasts. So check out that skip count recording for some dynamic ways of getting that skip count to stick. Then after you've got the quantity and the ability to rote count and count accurately and recognize quantities, you look at the math operations themselves. What is addition? That's putting things together. What is subtraction? That is taking some things away. What is multiplication? That's fast adding. And division, that's sectioning off things with the same number in each group. In my opinion, there's no really good curriculum that goes at everyone's pace. Some of the curriculum goes too fast for some of the kids, and some goes too slow. Well, we've created something called Visual Circle Math, and this is a way to advance quickly through the understanding of concepts if you are advanced in math. So you don't have to spend so long on all the different pages that some curriculums would provide, because you can just move through at your own pace. It's also great for remediation. So if a child is struggling with math, they can go at their own pace but still move quickly through because of the way that it's presented. They can move quickly through the understanding of what those operations are because this technique is really amazing at helping them understand what's going on. Now, visual circle math is not a math curriculum in the traditional sense. It doesn't have the peripheral math concepts like time and money and that kind of thing. And it's not just the traditional page of problem after problem. It has a template, and so you can spend as much time or as little time on each concept and reviewing. The template's going to help you know how to review the concepts that you've previously learned so that they don't get mixed up. They retain that information. That's a great way to get those math concepts down really good. Now, another foundation of math is the word problems. Now, with the word problem, the important thing is you've got to hold all the pieces together long enough to figure out a lot of different things. You've got to figure out what operation you're going to use to get the result and what information is important and what is just peripheral information that you don't really need to pay attention to. Now, for word problems, there's an added thing that you need for this foundation, and that is good auditory processing. Auditory processing allows you to hold those pieces together so that you can make those decisions. So a lot of children are struggling with word problems because they can't hold all that information together, and so they just get lost in that. If this is your situation or the situation with your child, you want to go to littlegiantsteps.com and look for the free auditory test kit. Test the child and find out where they are in their auditory processing. That kit will tell you if they're 5 years old, how many digits they should be able to use. That's part of the test, is the digit span. If they're 6 years old, if they're 7 years old or older, how many pieces they should be able to hold. This may be a real key. They may be good in other aspects of math, but just can't seem to hold the pieces together for word problems. So this will solve your problem without struggling through from now on with these word problems. So let's get to the cornerstone, because that's what we titled this, but I really wanted to lay the foundation so that you knew the different aspects that I think are important. Now, the cornerstone of math, I believe, is math facts. Now, why is that the cornerstone? Well, it's really the building blocks. If you don't have those little math facts instantly recalled in your brain and they just come right back out, then your building that problem is very laborious. So if you have to carry and if you have to do several processes like in multi-digit multiplication, makes it very cumbersome and it takes a long time. And then the kids don't like math much. If the math facts come easy for them, then the lesson goes quickly and there's less aggravation for both the student and the teacher because the answers are correct. I remember talking to one lady at a book fair one time. She says, my 15-year-old is just brilliant in math. He knows all these high-level operations of algebra and he can do geometry and all of this kind of stuff, but his answers are always wrong because he doesn't know his math facts. She said, I used your rapid recall system and now he knows his math facts. I did not anticipate that because I've got a whole shelf of things that didn't work, but now he knows them. I'm so thankful. So why is it that a 15-year-old went all the way through school up until 9th, 10th grade without knowing his math facts? Well, let's look at the system that we use now. The current system, what's wrong with it is it's typically a test. Now, nobody likes to be tested all the time, and when you hold up a flashcard with a math fact on it and no answer, guess what? That's not a drill. That's not teaching math facts. That is a test. I don't know if you've ever thought of it like that because everybody does it like that. I don't know for sure why, but we'll either do math facts cards with no answer or we'll give them a whole page of speed drill to do and then say, do this faster, do this faster. So now what have we got? We've got not only a test, but now they're under pressure to do it fast. So let's flip that around. In our rapid recall system, the child sees, hears, says, and writes 5 math facts 14 times a day. Now, you might think that, wow, that's going to take a long time, but it really only takes 6 minutes because you're going to do a minute of input over here with flashcards with the answer on them, and then you're going to do 2 minutes of listening and flashcards and 2 minutes of a discovery game. That's what the system is built on. And they never do a speed drill until they've had 60 exposures of the same information. So can you imagine how easy it's going to be to remember if they've had 60 intense inputs of that right information? So you do a minute here, 2 minutes here, a minute here, 2 minutes there, and then you do that 5 days in a week, and then they know them. You go on to the next 5. It really is a fabulous system. We've tested it in schools. Homeschoolers report all the time how wonderful it is. I had one lady come up and she said, I have autistic twins, and they hated math. They would just avoid it like the plague and moan and complain. And when she brought this home to them, she put it in front of them, and of course they were resistant at first. And then by the 3rd day, one of them said, we can do this. This is easy. And of course they could, because it's giving them the input that they need. That kind of story is really rewarding. But whether you have a child with learning struggles or a child that's advanced in math that just doesn't know their math facts yet, the rapid recall system can make that cornerstone of math solid for them. It can make it a solid and dependable part of their math abilities. So I encourage you to check into that. Now, we are continuing to add to our offerings of neurodevelopmental innovations at Little Giant Steps in order to provide what you need to enhance your child's ability. So be sure to check out the new mini programs for preschool and kindergarten. This will give you neurodevelopment to complement any curriculum you might be using. These programs are fully accessible to our listeners in and outside of the United States, as everything is delivered over the internet. Each mini program will teach you activities that address directly or indirectly each of the 6 main areas of human development. This is similar to the neurodevelopmental activities that already exist in Early Learning Foundation's programs, but it will not include the math portion that makes up part of the Early Learning Foundations that we have now. There is web training available for all the activities, which means you click on the activity and it describes exactly how to do that activity. You can view the details of these mini programs on the store at littlegiantsteps.com. Now, if you have any concerns that we haven't talked about yet in the 50+ podcasts that we've done, let me know about it, and I'll try to answer that issue for you on another one of the Brain Coach tips. Simply email those requests to office@littlegiantsteps.com and put in the subject line, Brain Coach Topics. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I hope that I've assisted you in your journey toward understanding how you can use brain boosters like Rapid Recall System to help prepare your children for a solid, wonderful use of math the whole rest of their lives. If you make it a priority to use the tips I've given or the specific programs to enhance brain function, your child's homeschool experience could be much more productive and also much more pleasant for you. Remember to tell your friends about the free metabolic consultations that are available. What we will discuss at those consultations is something that can help metabolic issues like autoimmune responses, inattentiveness, gut issues, heavy metal toxicity, emotional behavioral challenges, and more. Just email office@littlegiantsteps.com to get started on your free metabolic consultation. You can also follow me on Pinterest with many ideas that align with the neurodevelopmental approach. You can find me at Jan Bedell-Braincoach. We also have great questions and answer opportunities on Facebook. Please stay tuned where you will receive more Brain Coach tips to make life and learning easier. In the meantime, please visit our sponsor, Little Giant Steps. They are dedicated to equipping you as a parent so that your children can reach their full potential. Remember, neurodevelopment is a dynamic approach to life at any age. So think differently. The solution is not in the problem. Until next week, it's the Brain Coach signing off.